Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Time is running out for dozens of people to stay in their homes, but they're promising not to leave without a fight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A day before the planned end of San Diego's no-fault eviction moratorium, some tenants of a Linda Vista apartment complex are calling on city leaders for help. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says their new landlord has told them to clear out by the end of the year.
Tenant! Power! Tenant! Power! Tenant! Power!
Belinda Ward is one of dozens of tenants from the Casa Linda apartments who rallied in front of the complex Thursday morning.
I pay my rent on time every month. I've lived here for over 2 years. I love living here. I want to stay here.
Her complex has a new landlord, UIP Linda Vista LLC, which bought Casa Linda in July. The company wants to remodel. Ward and the other tenants were told to leave their homes by the end of the year. She was homeless before and is scared of being homeless again.
I have a one-bedroom apartment full of things, full of my memories, my things. And I've been slowly going through them, trying to figure out what memories to throw away in case I can't find a place. What can I fit in my car?
Angel Gonzalez has been at Casa Linda for 10 years. He says it's much more affordable than other similar offerings on the housing market, but says the new owner created health and safety issues at their homes, including asbestos exposure.
Without telling anybody, they just came over and started doing the demolition on the outside and on the inside of the empty apartments.
And so coming up, an in-depth look at the effort for greater tenant protections amid a sky-high housing market and growing homelessness crisis. Both the city and county agree the shortage of affordable housing is a crisis. That's what is bringing the San Diego City Council and County Board of Supervisors together for the first time in more than 20 years. On Monday, they are holding a joint meeting to ensure the two government agencies are working together toward the same goal. They'll also be voting on a new goal of building 10,000 affordable homes by 2030. County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says it's an ambitious goal.
It's going to be hard to beat, but we know the need is so great. And it's not just 10,000 units of affordable housing. We need more than that. This is 10,000 units of affordable housing on government-owned land, on vacant or underutilized government-owned land.
City and county staffers will present a list of publicly owned properties where housing could be built. The meeting starts Monday at 9 a.m. on the SDSU campus. Now to the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Deaths are being confirmed and search and rescue operations are underway. Although it has been downgraded to a tropical storm, it could gain strength before it makes landfall in South Carolina. Gloria Pazmino reports from Fort Myers, Florida.
There's really no words that I can say to tell you what I've seen. The Fort Myers beach area, buildings, major homes and buildings completely washed away with vehicles in the water, vehicles in the bay, boats are upside down.
Tied as the fourth most powerful hurricane to hit the Sunshine State, Ian blasted ashore Wednesday, just shy of a Category 5 storm.
The amount of water that's been rising and will likely continue to rise today, even as the storm is passing, is basically a 500-year flood event.
Residents now getting their first glimpse at the scope of the damage.
Very flooded. It's ruined, completely ruined. The fridge is on the floor. The couches are turned upside down. The toilets are on the floor.
Many residents still trapped in their homes.
You kind of find yourself in a position where you're totally powerless.
With dozens of houses still underwater, search and rescues are now underway.
We currently have an aircraft in the air with the Florida National Guard actively pulling people off of roofs in Fort Myers.
And as Ian continues its destructive march across Florida, parts of the East Coast are getting pummeled.
This is my community. This is my home. It's not only for my pain, it's for everybody's pain. I'm terrified for everybody. It's not only all our trailers, it's half of Cape Coral, it's half of everywhere.
In Fort Myers, Florida, Gloria Pasmino, KPBS News.
And we are just beginning to get an understanding of the extent of the catastrophic damage left behind. President Biden approved a major disaster declaration in Florida, clearing the way for federal aid. 5 Red Cross volunteers from San Diego are already there helping where they can. They were sent to work at a shelter, and our media partner ABC 10 News caught up with one of them before he left.
Looks like a tough situation there, but that's also, why we do this. Why I do this is to, help people.
And if you are interested in helping with disaster relief, the American Red Cross is accepting financial donations. You can donate online at redcross.org, or you can call the number 1-800-HELP-NOW. The Navy arson fire involving the Bonhomme Richard is in its final stages as both sides make closing arguments. Prosecutors summarize their case, calling Ryan Mays a disgruntled sailor who failed Navy SEAL training and hated working deck duty. Mays' defense lawyers countered by pointing to a lack of physical evidence tying Mays to the crime. The judge will decide a verdict. A local medical plan is pushing back against a recent state decision to remove it from San Diego County. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says some 300,000 people may have to change plans, and soon.
Say Community Health Group! Say Community Health Group!
Dozens turned out downtown to protest the state of California's decision to exclude Community Health Group as a Medi-Cal provider beyond next year. The group says they've been in business here for 40 years, and they serve 335,000 San Diegans.
They cut us out, which makes absolutely no sense to us.
Community Health Group's COO, Joseph Garcia, says the state is trying to streamline operations, going from 7 Medi-Cal plans to just 3. The group submitted a bid, but Garcia argues the state scoring system was flawed. He says Community Health Group has filed an appeal, and they're hoping the state will simply keep their Medi-Cal plan.
We're going to try. And we hope that with the support of the community that we have, like you saw right now, with the support of key leaders throughout California, that the state will reconsider and say, you know what, they're the best plan in San Diego County. Let's include them.
Community Health Group says its metrics show it is one of the top performing Medi-Cal plans. Based in Chula Vista, supporters don't want to lose their local connection.
Now they're just supposed to be excluded, and everybody's supposed to go out and get new insurance covered, new doctors. It's terrible.
Chula Vista resident Peter Savardi is a Medi-Cal enrollee who has been with Community Health Group for the last decade. He says the group has saved his life. He worries what will happen to other low-income San Diegans.
335,000 insured would have to get new insurance.
Even Chula Vista Mayor Mary Casillas Salas is throwing her support behind saving the health plan.
If the state does not add them back into our community, I believe that it's going to increase the inequities of health care and worsen the outcomes in our community.
We reached out to the State Department of Healthcare Services asking why the decision was made not to include Community Health Group in the years ahead, but we did not hear back. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A hard-fought victory for farm workers after weeks of marches, vigils, and even a push from President Biden. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill to give farm workers more options for union voting. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has the story.
What do you guys want to say?
Governor Gavin Newsom walked out of the Capitol and showed up to the makeshift camp where farm workers have been holding vigil for over a month. He signed AB 2183 that would allow them to unionize by simple mail or card check process. In August, the farm workers walked 335 miles to the Capitol. They've been there ever since, trying to get the governor to sign the bill. Among them, Xochitl Nunes.
We've been waiting for your visit.
Nunes says she can't believe he signed the bill, and she was there.
Oh, sí. Él me está... Es que yo le estoy diciendo, thank you so much. por your side. Y es lo único que dije, you're welcome.
She says, I don't know a lot of English, but I was telling him I was thankful. It's something I'll never forget. He said, I remember you. I'll never forget his words.
Estoy soñando. Yo estoy soñando. No, no estaba soñando.
She says, I just felt a hug and it was like, am I dreaming? I'm dreaming. No, I'm not dreaming. The governor is here. Newsom had vetoed a similar bill before, and Al Staley, a farmer in Valley Center, says he doesn't understand what changed.
I'm very disappointed that he signed it after saying that he wouldn't support it in its current iteration. He vetoed virtually the same bill last year. Nothing changed.
There was one change. Newsom made a deal with union leaders to eliminate mail-in ballots next year.
Which was our fear all along. Now we're down to card check.
Staley says that gives the union an unfair advantage.
And if they get a simple majority to agree to sign that card, they are unionized without even talking to 100% of the employees.
He says he values his employees, many who've been with him for as long as he's been farming, and says he gives them regular raises and good benefits.
Just to be clear, I do not fear the unions unionizing my employees. I trust my employees to make the right decision, whether for themselves.
Nunes says fighting for this bill has been a sacrifice, one that has been paid with the blood, sweat, and tears of many farm workers who have been mistreated for generations.
Ya no es el sueño con el que yo me vine caminando el primer día.
She says it's no longer the dream I set off on that walk on that first day. Now it's a reality. It's a law. It's something beautiful. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Gas prices are up across the country, but nowhere near as much as we're paying here in California. The average price of regular gasoline in San Diego County jumped by over 15 cents today to $6.20 a gallon. That is the highest amount since July. We're now paying nearly $1 more than we were this time just last month. Meanwhile, the national average is $3.78 a gallon. The city of San Diego is about to see emergency COVID-19 tenant protections end tomorrow. So what does that mean to some San Diego renters? KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says they are worried their housing situations could be in jeopardy.
Rahuma Abdi is a mother of 6 who rents an apartment in City Heights. She's lived there for decades and says she loves the community of fellow immigrants and refugees.
So I grew up in City Heights as well, and when my family was renting, it looks like community, it looks like a farm where like all families stay together.
But now she's worried more of her friends and neighbors will be forced to move as emergency COVID-19 tenant protections are set to phase out on September 30th.
But now, because of City Heights is getting expensive, because of the lack of protection that we have, everybody's like spreading out and moving out and being displaced.
Rahuma works at Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, or PANA. Asma Abdi is PANA's policy associate. She says she wants an extension of tenant protections and is urging the San Diego City Council to take action.
It means that many families, even if they do absolutely everything right, they pay their rent on time, they don't violate their lease agreement, they can still be at risk for eviction. And so it creates a lot of uncertainty in our community, and people don't know whether or not they'll remain in their homes.
Once the no-fault protections expire, the city will be left with its Tenants' Right to Know ordinance. It requires landlords to provide at least one of 9 listed reasons before terminating a lease with a renter who has lived at a property for more than 2 years. San Diego City Council President Shawnilo Rivera says he submitted a potential set of updates for the tenant protection ordinance to the city attorney's office.
Any protection that goes away that makes it easier for folks to be evicted and put out into the rental market is one that creates added vulnerability, and that concerns me.
We are hoping that the tenant protections ordinance will provide stronger protections for our low-income, elderly, disabled, and terminally ill tenants, some of our most vulnerable community members, and allow them the right to relocation payments in the event that they are evicted.
Current state law, with some exceptions, limits rent increases at 10%, While that sounds like a lot, Lucinda Lilly of the Southern California Rental Housing Association says landlords have also faced difficult circumstances over the past few years.
We couldn't terminate a tenancy even if there was an extremely bad actor on a property. So rental housing providers have really risen to this.
Lilly wants solutions for struggling renters, but stands against any form of extending the protections.
This isn't going to result in an avalanche of people getting termination notices for no reason. Just cause is just cause, and if an owner needs to move into a property, then they need to move into a property. If they need to sell because they can no longer afford to support the property, then they need to be able to do that.
While time is of the essence for many renters, it could be a while before any form of the TPO can be enacted. With the rising cost of overall living, that's pushing many tenants over the edge.
Luckily, I have 4-bedroom, but some other families who cannot afford to rent 4 bedrooms. That's why there's a lot of hidden homelessness in our community, where families are doubling up in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom because they cannot afford to rent.
Pana says the updated ordinance would close loopholes that landlords can use to wrongfully evict families. It would also require landlords to provide relocation assistance to tenants who face no-fault evictions. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
California regulators do not appear ready to unveil new solar rules today. The California Public Utilities Commission has a self-imposed deadline to issue a decision 90 days after they close public comment on an issue, and that day is today. Solar advocate Dave Rosenfeld says the last plan included steep recurring grid connection charges and slashed the value of electricity produced on rooftops.
There was a big public outcry. We were a part of that. The governor even weighed in at the end of January and said, hey, this isn't quite right. The CPUC then put the pause button.
The California regulators are not bound by law to unveil the plan now, but it would buck their own precedent if they don't. If you're thinking of replacing your lawn, now might be the time. Governor Newsom signed legislation which will exempt turf replacement from state income tax, and that means you can save water and money. With California on track to lose about 10% of its water supply by the year 2040, a drier landscape is becoming the norm. The governor has also signed other measures to deal with severe drought and promote water efficiency. California farmers are getting $130 million in federal money to lessen their impact on the climate, and that includes water usage and carbon emissions. Laura Highfailey spoke with one farmer who is doing her part for the environment.
California farmers will tell you they feed the world.
And if we take all that off, on the inside, we have the actual almond.
And when it comes to the almond, that's mostly true.
California grows 80% of the almonds.
That's 80% of the world's almonds, according to Kelly Evans, owner of Evans Farming, whose family has grown the nuts for decades.
Our family has been farming since 1948. It's changed dramatically, and it's amazing how every generation sees such differences.
In recent years, almond growers like Kelly have worked to upgrade their systems to be more eco-friendly, including changing the way they water crops. Instead of flooding the orchard, Kelly now uses a system that controls how much water crops get and when.
This is going to show me where my water levels are. We use moisture sensors to tell us exactly how much to water.
But there's one problem with eco-friendly practices.
They're extremely expensive.
That's where the federal government comes in. A grant worth $130 million will go to farmers in California to develop or continue using more eco-friendly farming strategies, including lowering water usage and capturing carbon.
We're helping improve our greenhouse emissions as a whole for everyone around us.
Evans says new irrigation systems, environmentally friendly tractors, and cover crops that capture carbon emissions are great for the environment, but tough on their pockets. The grant money will help.
And I think this grant is really going to help drive and create that industry.
Evans Farming grows for Blue Diamond, a company that controls a large share of California's almond crop. If they can improve farming practices, it could make a major difference for California as a whole.
All about the onshore flow and the marine layer that will deepen over the course of the next couple of days. So we'll start days off with some morning low clouds and fog, not only toward the coast, but even into some of the western valleys. And that'll definitely keep our temperatures in check, though, as we go into next week, we We're going to start to see some warming once again. Let's talk about tonight. Low temperatures falling off into the 50s toward Mount Laguna, 70 Borrego Springs, and then we'll fall in between from Chula Vista to Oceanside and San Diego, generally speaking, down into the mid-60s. Clouds and sunshine as we go into Friday. The wet weather stays well off to the east, but again, most of the warmth will be over the far interior. We're going to be talking about the desert still on the warm side. We're close to normal here around San Diego, 77. The high Oceanside, 78. Chula Vista, 77. A warm day still in Borrego Springs, though, at 72. Mount Laguna topping off at 73 degrees. As we work our way into the start of the weekend, again, some spotty afternoon thunderstorms over the four corners. The warmth, again, found and felt primarily to our east, and those temperatures will be in check along the immediate coast. As we take a look at your coastal temperatures, and keep in mind, we're going to start things off with some morning low clouds and fog. Temperatures rising up into the 70s going into the weekend. And notice the nice conditions heading into early next week. Temperatures, though, will be on the climb. I talked about this warming trend. You'll notice it more over the interior as we go into Monday and also into Tuesday. Temperatures climbing up into the 80s. Can't rule out, again, some patchy low clouds and fog the next couple of mornings over some of the western valleys. Over the mountainous terrain, we're going to be cooling off into the 60s over the course of the next couple of days. But again, there's that warming trend as we go toward, say, Monday, especially Tuesday of next week. And over the deserts, there's your warmth on Friday. And then it's building. Those temperatures are on the rise as we head our way into next Tuesday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, Florida begins assessing the damage left behind by Hurricane Ian. That's coming up at 7 right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Nearly 1 in 5 adults who have been infected with coronavirus still have long COVID. Those suffering report a wide range of symptoms, but one of the most common is the loss of smell. Mandy Gaither has more on how experts say you can retrain your nose.
If changes in your sense of smell went along with your COVID-19 infection, you're not alone.
Up to 90% of people had some loss of smell.
Most people get the sense back. A study published in August shows around 90% of people with mild COVID before the Omicron variant who lost taste or smell fully regained the senses within 2 years. Others still suffer. Health experts say the loss of smell isn't because of congestion, but rather a change inside you.
This virus actually affects the cells that are directly responsible for your sense of smell, way up near the base of your skull and the base of your brain. What happens is that not only do you lose your smell, at least initially, but 3 to 4 months later, when these cells are supposed to sort of redivide, you could lose your sense of smell again.
Health experts say you can retrain your nose to regain your sense of smell, and these 4 scents can help. Rose, eucalyptus, clove, and lemon.
Use your nose to smell these scents over and over again. You can slowly potentially start to regain some of that smell over time.
A research article published earlier this year suggests essential oils with those scents may help a person recover the sense of smell by stopping inflammation and helping cells regenerate. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
As Hispanic Heritage Month rolls on, tonight we take a ride with some of San Diego County's most passionate lowriders. KPBS education reporter MG Perez went to the City College campus for a lesson in the historic car culture.
How low can you go?
I don't think you can slide a penny under there. It's literally touching the asphalt.
Marcos Arellano is considered the king of car culture. His specialty is low riding.
Anybody can be a lowrider. You can start at any age, but you have to have the passion for it.
This is his 1962 Chevy Impala convertible, sitting on 13-inch rims with plenty of chrome and customized components. He is here on the San Diego City College campus with some of his lowrider family showing off their cars. The lowrider king is nicknamed Mr. Rabbit.
Today I'm Professor Rabbit.
Arellano is a guest lecturer today, invited to speak to students, an honor that surprised him.
You'll be giving a speech at a classroom in a college. about lowriders. I'm like, yeah, right.
With a standing room only full house, he shared the history of cars born in the barrios, mostly hand-me-downs, designed by men from marginalized communities who used their imagination and mechanical skills. They created moving masterpieces. Unfortunately, society created stereotypes.
A lot of people hear the word lowrider, like, oh, you know, the lowriders are coming. It's like, oh, that's horrible, that's bad. And I want to educate them. It's okay, come talk to me. Come ask me a question.
Arellano not only educates, he inspires. Deanna Garcia is one of San Diego's female lowriders.
It's not going to be something you do overnight. It's going to take years to accomplish, but that's the passion of it. It's something when it's done that you can show and let everybody in this world see who you are just through your car.
13-year-old Alonzo Delgado is nowhere near old enough to drive, but he's preparing for the day he will become a true lowrider.
It's going to be a 4-pump, 12 batteries, and Dayton spokes or wire wheels, and it's going to be a hardtop.
Would you like to get in it so you can see how it feels?
Mr. Rabbit got his nickname because of his buck teeth and ability to hop.
These are my switches.
Remember, he said, anyone can be a lowrider if they have the passion. MC Perez, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.